Hello and welcome to my latest episode of Searching for Truth. This week I am talking to the lovely Ritu Sharma all about love. I've known Ritu for a few years and really noticed just how much she talks about love. And it was only recently that I saw her talk and got to find out a little bit about her story from her talk and much more of an understanding as to why she's so passionate about spreading the word of love. So with Searching for Truth, I may have mentioned this already, but I certainly do mention it in the interview with Ritu, that I do believe that love is within all of us, an abundance of love. And the more we search for truth within ourselves, the more we find that love that's there, that's always been there. So I've been really looking forward to doing this podcast. With everything going on in the world right now, there's a lot of fear. And the opposite to fear is love. So I've been filling my week up with love this week. And I'm really, really pleased to be sharing a podcast with you all, especially this week, all about love. Enjoy. Okay, so hello Ritu. Hi. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of Searching for Truth. I'm really, really passionate about this interview, as I am all of them. But this is, as I've just said to you, and I'll say to the listeners and watchers, what we're going to be talking about today is the crutch of searching for truth. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, the way I am moving with searching for truth, talking about love with Ritu today is the crutch, and it's the passion that drives everything that I'm doing right now. So Ritu Sharma, you're a mother, entrepreneur, you're an author of a book called Rich Man's Poor Daughter. I didn't know that.
Okay.
I didn't know that. So I'm very much looking for, and you just mentioned in our little talk before about that book. So I'm really looking forward to reading that. And you're the founder of Corshalia UK. Mm-hmm. Which is I'm very much a part of a group in there. It's very active, and I'm looking forward to getting a bit more involved in Corshalia, which you've just shared with me was your grandmother's name.
That's correct.
Beautiful.
So first of all, Donna, thank you very much for having me. I am totally and truly about what you're about, searching for truth, and more of our truth, personal truth, individual truth, more than anything else, because I truly believe that we're all on a journey, and we're all looking to find out why we're here, what's the purpose. And I am all of that. I'm a mother, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a founder of Corshalia UK, I'm writer, author of a book, Rich Man's Poor Daughter, and I am all of that. So my truth kind of is encapsulated around these elements of being. And yes, my organization Corshalia UK is named after my grandmother. The organization, Donna, is about women empowerment and upliftment. And my grandmother was an empowered woman given her, times and circumstances. So, and I have great admiration for her. So I decided to name my organization after her, because she truly was a woman who was very uplifted spiritually, and an empowered woman as well. So the journey is just about started, I'd say. But
that.
very excited. And as you say, talking about love, that is what I do with, passion, because, I found out that the only emotion, the only power that any of us needs, any of us can thrive on, is that of love. Everything else comes in either in absence of love, or when we are not doing enough to love, or we're not being loved enough. Mm-hmm. Vice versa. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm equally thrilled to be here today and speak to you.
Beautiful. And you mentioned searching for truth as well as you started talking. I am starting to believe and realize even more since I've been doing this, that the more you sort of dig deep, and I mean not necessarily dig deep in some cases, but the
Mm-hmm.
more you sort of get to know yourself, get to know your own truth, because I think a lot of us are conditioned to kind of
Yeah.
cover up what's going on really inside.
Mm-hmm.
So we sort of, I believe we sort of then, because we cover it up and we hide it from everyone else, it becomes easy to almost hide it from everyone, hide it from ourselves as well.
Exactly, exactly. And I've always said it, Donna, that the more you know, the more you realize how less you know. And,
Yes.
as a teacher as well, I used to say that the more you know, the more you realize. And ever since I've embarked on this journey of personal development, I see that it applies on anything. The more knowledge you, as you say, the more you dig into yourself, you realize, you don't know anything about you. And when you find a little truth about you, say, and you accept that, that opens up so many different portals as well. Like, oh my God, okay, so I'm this, but am I that as well? Could I possibly be this too? Is
Yeah.
this about me as well? Could I relate to that as well? So there's so much we can find, not just about yourself, but this applies to anything. And you 100% about, how we're conditioned to having a mask on the forefront, or a different face to who
Yeah.
we actually are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, we're conditioned socially, howsoever, according to, the mold that we are brought up in, because it is a mold, really, isn't it? You're a woman, so you're assigned certain tasks and certain demeanor. You're a man, so you can only do this. You can't express, or you can't cry, and you can't be this. You can't be cooking. It's your woman's job, etc., etc. And it's really silly. It's really silly. So we do definitely need to find out the truth,
Mhm.
and it begins with finding out your truth about yourself before you go
Yeah.
out searching for it.
Yeah. And I know you've talk a lot about this, and definitely going to be leading people that are watching this to you to see all the fabulous talks that you do. My what I'm starting to feel around all of this with searching for truth is, and I realize without realizing at the time, that I feel that this is kind of my calling because
Uh-huh.
of things that I've spoken about in the past. But I believe that we are all born um, pure love,
Yeah.
like pure love.
Yeah.
And I said this in a post that I did earlier, like, I don't, people might sort of say to that, well, my mum and dad didn't even like each other, or this. And I think none of that matters. The fact that you made it here,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
pure bundle of a
Yeah.
baby, is pure
Yeah.
love. And I believe that that love is always there and actually growing,
So
actually.
what
But
you're talking about is divine source, Donna. What
yeah,
I understand from what you've said, you're talking that, we're all of us are divine initially, and we're intended to maintain that and grow that while we're here. But because of the experiences we've had, and how, our brain works, our mind works, and conditions us to keep us safe and not go beyond the known and fear the unknown, etc., etc., we kind of hold back many a times, and even while making connections with human beings, which is a shame, really, which is very sad. I find it really sad. We don't reach out to people because we're worried sometimes. I
mm,
don't know how he'd take it. I don't know how she's going to react to that. So I'm keeping in my safe zone. I'll just leave it. I won't say hello. I won't reach out. And how many people, lose this chance of creating powerful connections, even flourishing relationships in the future, just because we're worried that the other person might not respond how we'd like them to respond. What could go wrong? Reach out,
yeah, what could go
And if
wrong?
they're not interested, that's fine as well.
Yeah,
That's because they're on their journey. They're not at a level yet where they can comprehend that two human beings can connect just at a humane level. They don't have to, have any other connections. That's fine too. And don't take it personally, don't get offended, move on.
And I really love the path of encouraging more awareness around this, because I've experienced in my life a lot of both sides, where the energy of love, when I'm feeling that energy of love, when I'm believing in that energy of love, it spreads, it's there, it's like you can't, and it works the same the other way with fear. And once you've experienced that, I kind of know hand on heart that this is so it kind of makes me even more passionate to try and spread the word.
Same that energy.
Yeah, if we could
Exactly.
all just kind of like be amongst this energy and believing in this energy.
Exactly.
Then,
and sometimes, sometimes even if fear pops up, because it would, that's how we are, it does pop up, and you start imagining things. So what if this goes wrong, and what if that doesn't work, etc., etc. Just hold on to the love side of it still, and do what you would do while you were in the energy of love, rather than give in to fear. The fear would stay, but it would not last long, then I'd say. Because I've experienced exactly what you're saying, Donna. I have experienced this as well, where I'm in a fantastic energy of, loving myself and loving others, and I'm very free flowing, and then all of a sudden there's some abrupt, break, and then I feel very unsettled, and I say, oh my God, I don't know how to handle this. Then I fall back on my experience of, how I would handle if I was still feeling the love. And I would act according to that, even though I'm feeling fear in my heart. I'd still try and act in a way from a place of love. And it's miraculous how situations change, just because you have, loaned that energy for the time being. And it works all the time. It's amazing.
it really does work, and I can say that as well. I've done that, but it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to pull yourself out of that state. And that's where I hope that some of the work that I do, and I'm sure you're the same, can help to, drive that hope to, don't, because it's at those times of real lows that you really do need to kind of find this source of love. But it can probably feel like such a big step to get there, because you're feeling totally absorbed in fear or anger or hurt. And a good example is, for me, in the mornings, I try, before I really am feeling either good or bad, I try and take that space to tell myself that I am having a good day, and I'm going to have a good day, and today is going to be amazing, and it's already a brilliant day. And so I'm always trying to interrupt whatever was about to go on, because you know what it's like, so especially with what's going on in the world at the moment, our emotions are all over the place, so we don't really know how we're going to feel exactly in the mornings. It's a really good way of kind of just almost interrupting the process and driving the positive into the day. So I do know, and it makes such a difference, because once you've said to yourself, I'm having a good day, it's like when you say, oh, I feel rubbish today, straight away you feel rubbish. So turn that on its head and say, I'm feeling great. You don't tend to feel so bad once you've told yourself you feel good.
Exactly. It's a conscious choice. But it takes practice, of course.
It does.
It's not easy to turn things around if you're in that sort of energy that's threatening, or it's down and low. It takes practice. And then once you are in a habit of doing this, then it becomes easier. Not totally easy, but relatively easier.
It can become more of a habit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ritu, can we talk a little bit about your journey?
Sure.
And obviously you're very passionate about love. Love is like your niche. I mean, what a great niche.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's
It,
brilliant.
oh, it's,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's, that's what I feel about searching for truth. I'm just like, oh, so grateful.
Hmm.
Um, but how did this all start for you? I mean, you know, like for example, 10 years ago,
Hmm.
were you the Ritu, like the Ritu like you are now? I mean, what's the timeline of it? Like what,
If
how
you'd
did you
met me 10 years ago and you
get
met me now, Donna, and I know people who have,
yeah,
they'd tell you, you are not the person we knew 10 years ago. I am a totally, totally different person, an evolved version of myself, if you like. I like
yeah,
to think of it like that. And I'm still evolving, thanks to God. But it's not even been 10 years, to be honest. It started in 2013, let's say. And that was 7 years ago. So it's not been even 10 years. It's like, so far, it's like a journey of 7 years. And I have evolved from being totally broken spiritually and emotionally to finding my pieces, bringing them together and gluing them first with self-love. Now, I was a total emotional wreck in 2013, and the reason was that I had experienced a life that was totally devoid of self-love or any other form of love on the outside. So it was quite, soul shattering, if you like. And when I realized that there was no love, um, and how badly I craved for it, I'll tell you an experience I had. That must be in 2011, 12. Uh, that I could actually, I have had moments where I could actually feel that emotional pain physically. And I could feel that the tips of my nails, my fingers, and my toes, they used to hurt really badly. And that is not because I was physical, everything was fine physically. I was perfectly fine walking, going to work, doing my things. But it was the emotional pain that, materialized, if you like. So for the first 37 years of life, it was totally devoid of love. And then when I came to a realization that I cannot find love on the outside because I don't have any love on the inside, that is when I started my internal work. That is when I started, doing all this personal development stuff that I so vouch for. And, when you are judged because you are who you are, and, I have been a vocal person. I was always vocal, and I've been told that my throat chakra is the strongest chakra as well, which I understand. Why would they say that? But I've been a vocal person. I've always voiced my concerns. And as a woman, if you know Indian culture, Asian culture, that people don't like women who speak up their minds. And I was tagged with names and judgmental, stuff because I was a woman who would ask questions. I was a young girl who would ask questions, and I was shut down. And there was so much, hurt because of that, and there was so much built up pain and anger and resentment. And I totally challenged the system because I did not agree with it. And I did not agree with it because I did not understand the concept behind it.
mm-hmm.
You can allow a boy to do certain things, but the same things are prohibited for a girl. Um, a woman is fine to go out and, earn money for herself and the family and bring the money home and invest it in the family and run the household and take the whole responsibility. But when it comes to decision making, you take the second step. You don't speak out. You don't speak up. It's the man of the house who'd make the decision. And that does not make any sense. It's okay. We can make a decision together. And I'm definitely Donna. I want to make a disclaimer. I'm not anti-men in any way. Okay.
Okay.
I, I call myself a women empowerment ambassador because empowerment is all around understanding yourself. You're empowered if you know yourself. You're empowered if you know who you are, what your values are, what is it that you stand for, what is it that you want to do with yourself. That is empowered. We're not fighting against a gender, and men and women go through this stuff. It's not just
Yeah.
exclusive to women, unfortunately. But I had my journey, and I for a long time thought that it is very cultural and it was only specific to Asian culture. And I also believe that I was the doomed one because my destiny did not want me to be happy. And, I must have done something really horrible in past lives that God was punishing and all that business, why me? And when I came to an understanding that, when I came out of my bubble, I understood it's not just Asian women, it's women across. And it's not just in the homes that women are, treated, discriminated against, etc. It's everywhere in the world. And just because you're different, that's silly. That's so silly. I always say give everybody equal opportunities. Man or a woman, girl or a boy, whoever, give everyone equal opportunities. And we're not talking equality here. We're not talking sameness. We're not same. Men and women are not same. So approaching everything with love, really. You are who you are, Donna, and I should not have any problem with that, right? So if you're different to me, that is beautiful. If you don't have similar opinions to mine, that's even better, because you might come up with an idea or some concept that can be that can take us even further, that can help us grow even further, that can make us better human beings. So putting a cap on something just because you are specifically something, a woman, or racially something, or people have classes or castes or whatever, I think that is against humanity. That is totally against nature's law. We're supposed to not be equal, not be same, but have equal chances, have fair chances, approach each other with love. So just let be. So my journey came across. I mean, it's loads and loads. I can carry on talking.
Well, it's
but
already when you started, I can hear the inspiration, because you've already sort of set the scene, if you like. And this is a real part of searching for truth, because I hear what you've just said. I would love you to share some more, because I see, as everyone else does and hears, where you are now. So I believe this searching for truth, like you did, your true self has set you free.
Yes.
On a journey to where you are now. And if I always feel chills running through me as I'm saying this, because that's what I want for everyone. As a speaker, I want more people to speak up, especially those that have experienced hardship and struggles, because there's so many more people that could relate to that.
Let
So
me
if we can
share a point. When I was on the lowest points in my life, and that was in summer 2013. I'd just left my marital home out of nowhere, because I was physically assaulted by my ex-husband in the presence of my 4-year-old little daughter. And even in that confusion, Donna, even in that mess that I was in, and the toxicity of the relationship and the home's atmosphere, I understood this bit, that if I took this on and if I accepted this, him hitting me in presence of my children, it's not going to stop or get any better. It's only going to get worse. And I'd seen people, bear that in my cultural setup. I'd seen women do that. I've actually had a cousin who was very well educated and really pretty lady, but she put up with this, and that became her life story. So even now that her children are like 20, 25, whatever, it has carried on. It might have calmed down now, I'm not sure, but all her youth she spent being beaten up by her husband. And the children used to watch it. Obviously, it has a derogatory effect on children's mental health. I had that understanding that I cannot allow my children to witness this. That would be such a wrong thing to do, because then I'm giving them a message, especially because, with my daughters, I'm giving them a message that it's okay to be abused by your partner. It's okay to live a life like that. It's okay to be shoved left, right, and center. No, it isn't. And not just for women, it's not okay for anyone to be treated like this. So I picked my bags up totally unplanned, and I walked out of the house. I had no idea where I was heading to. I have no family in the UK. I had no support anywhere in the world. So I was quite homeless and on my own in the given moment. And so I managed to, my friend sheltered me for a couple of weeks while I found a rented property. And then we moved into the rented house, but things were not very obviously, I was mentally distorted. I was emotionally totally shattered. Spiritually, I had no support, and I felt really in a dark place. So I wanted to provide my children with everything they needed, but definitely with the, the food, the clothing, shelter, the thing on the head. So I started looking for alternative, jobs, because I was in part-time teaching. The school was coming to an end. It was June, July, I think, and there was no tuition work available. So I was quite financially, I was quite stuck. And my ex-husband refused to sell the property we had in our joint names. And I was also paying half the mortgage because I was not told that I didn't have to. I was not aware of that. So he made me pay half
Wow.
the mortgage as well, while he was not paying anything towards anything, and I was not even in the house. So I was quite strained financially, and I started thinking about what is it that I could possibly do now to keep going, to provide for my kids. And nothing was working. I applied everywhere, shops, wherever, tuition centers, everything was kind of, it was summer, relaxed time, so nothing. And then a very vicious, like malicious thought came to my head. And I'm not proud of it, but I'm not sorry about sharing it now. I don't feel embarrassed talking about this, because I know, as a matter of fact, that many of us go through such hard times and such turmoil, and we don't even speak about it. So I got this from wherever it came to my head, and I actually started thinking about getting into prostitution. Now, I was 36 years of age, mother to two children, not even divorced properly, and I come from a multimillionaire family. So my father was a rich man, very hardworking, bless him, really dedicated guy, self-made man. So he was very proud, and I carried that pride all my life up till then, and I carry it even now on me. But in that given moment, it did not matter who I was, where I came from. What mattered to me was that I'm the mother, these children are my responsibility, I have to provide for them. Does not matter what it takes, I have to keep going. And therefore, the thought of, prostitution as an alternative. And the day this thought happened, Donna, on the backside of my head, everything else came on: how I was the best university student when I did my master's, how I was the best actress when I was, doing my degree, and I was the university youth festival best actress in 1998, which was a big deal. How I had so many different laurels in my name, but in that moment, none of that mattered, right? And I went on my knees and I cried out and cried my heart out. And I just questioned God. And I just said to God, universal power, the Almighty, so what have I done to deserve this? I have never meant bad for anyone. I've never even said anything bad to anyone, and why are my kids going through this? Because of, okay, I made mistakes. Okay, my choices have not been the best choices. I didn't make the moves I should have could have made while I was with my ex-husband, in the way that, it would have steered a bit better. I was naive. I didn't understand. But why are you putting my children through that? Please save me. And I cried my heart. I kneeled and I just cried. And you know what? I was still thinking about it. The thought lasted like 2 to 3 days. And the second day, I had a phone call from a random lady who had bumped into at a shopping center. And she goes, Ritu, remember we bumped into I bumped into you at the shopping place? And I said, yeah. And she goes, I have some tuition work for you. Do you want to take it? And Donna, you don't know how I felt in that moment. And I was not just relieved, I kept thanking God totally, continuously,
Yeah.
without stopping. I kept thanking God.
Yeah.
And from there on, I knew that I'm looked after. And, the faith became like tenfold, thousandfold. And I'm not even religious in any way. I'm not a religious person. I don't affiliate myself to a certain faith. I believe in love, and that's my God. God is love, and that's it. That's what I am about. So it all turned around, and in matter of 7 years from that point to this point, I don't even know what happened, how it happened, to be honest, because it was not a plan. You know how people
I
say,
think people that believe in God or Source, the Creator,
yeah,
um, will know how that happened. In a way, will
exactly,
feel that,
exactly.
because I feel that there is more to just what I mean. For
Definitely.
me, it's obvious, and I don't like to put labels on things. It's just there's more, and I think when you can just open up to believing in there's more,
Yeah.
and almost just kind of
Submitting.
submitting,
Yeah, just submitting.
and asking the question. Now, I'm bringing this in a lot earlier than I normally do,
Okay.
okay? And you've not seen my podcast, so you might not know anything about this. I
Okay.
do believe in God. I believe in a higher source. And I also believe in the angels. I got given the Oracle of Angels many years ago by my now husband. Before I start a podcast, I have the angels here, and I usually just have them in my hand, and I'm just touching them as I'm talking to my guests, and I'm just shuffling them. And then they're there ready for me to cut and choose a couple of cards, wherever they're, the top card and the bottom card. I felt a need to take the top card when you were just talking then, when you were saying about being on your knees. And then you mentioned faith. The
Mm.
two cards, and this is no word, the two cards that I pulled, the first one was trust,
Oh.
and then the second one, pretty much as you were saying it, was faith, the angel
Oh
of
my
faith.
God.
And they never cease to amaze me. Just they're,
Yeah.
for me, they're the messengers. They help me connect even more with source, and I just felt that. And so that's why I just wanted to say as well, anyone would that's listening to, a lot of people that's listening to you would say they know how it happened.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
did, you asked for help, and if we ask for help, we will usually from this place,
Mm.
from within, from really tuning into that and wanting and asking for that help, then you'll get it. That is, oh, such a powerful story. Did it go on from
Yeah.
there? I mean, you got some tuition work, so that obviously really saved the day then, that tuition work that you got given from that lady.
Exactly, exactly. And you know what? Since I've started sharing this story, because I do share it, Donna, I don't want to hold it. I don't want to keep it to myself. This is my truth. Hate it or love it. This is what happened. This is what I felt in that given moment. If somebody gets offended with that, be it my blood relationships or my friends or whoever, you know what? That's my truth. You don't have to relate with that if you can't, and that's absolutely fine. I don't hold it against you, but you can't hold it against me for feeling what I genuinely felt in that time. And another thing I want to say is, how people say plan, plan, plan. You'll have to have a plan for where do you want to get into 10 years, or where do you want to reach in 5, and then 1, and whatever. You have to have steps. I'd say you have to have the intention. I say what you really need is that faith, of course, that trust, and that passion, as Donna has to find the truth. And I have to empower women, not anti-men in any way, but that's my calling. I feel that's my calling, I believe. And empowering women, uplifting them, empowering in terms of letting them see who they are personally, who they are as individuals, because we get shoved so much and so many times in life, in this one lifetime, and we're not even told that we have that power within us. So I'd say know what you stand for, and then just take the few first steps that you can take, you understand, and it will all reveal it to
Yeah.
you in due time, when it's ready, when universe is ready to let you have it, when you're ready to take those next steps, it will all happen.
And I'm so thankful that you are sharing your truth with that, because as much there will be people that might think, oh, you should just keep that to yourself, there's going to be so many more people that are going to really get a lot from that, because they've thought it themselves, maybe they've done it themselves, they've been in that world, and they're carrying the shame and the guilt,
Yeah,
and again
yeah,
they're still trapped within, keeping everything in.
So to hear the more, this is why I'm passionate about more people speaking out, because it's the act of hearing other experiences, other people that have done it, that are now doing well, that are now holding their head up high and living a life of peace and love and helping others, that will massively inspire them. That far outweighs worrying about what a few people think about that, you know,
And you
that's
know
almost
what,
their
Donna,
problem, isn't it?
that's fine as well. If they
Yeah.
want to think like that, we are not supposed to hold any resentment towards that either. That's how they feel. That's how they understand it, and that's totally fine as well. They can live in their understanding, you know, their acceptance, level of acceptance, acknowledgement. That's fine as well. You need to know yourself. That is priority. And while you talk about sharing stories, etc., I would also want to um, tell you that I was really badly suicidal twice in my life, right? And the first one was when I was 21, totally devoid of love, didn't know who to relate to, didn't know who to approach. I was in a house full of family members, but nobody seemed to care. I was, you know, harming myself. I was pulling my hair out. My eyes were like big black circles around him. I was even cutting myself. But you know what? Ironically, Donna, nobody stopped and looked at me. And at that age, you're very extremist in a way, aren't you? You'd either say, you know what, if I die, I die. If nobody cares, how do I care? And I was in that energy for quite a long time, for a few months, before I actually decided I could not take that pain anymore. I was 21. I was not a teenager. I was not like 15, 16. I was 21. And I was doing my master's at the time. No, I was doing my final year bachelor's degree at the time. And I decided I didn't want to carry on. So I did attempt suicide at the age of 21. I got saved, and I carried that shame on me for a long, long time as well. That it was such a cowardly thing to do, and people don't understand it. They don't know how to respond to that either. I was never given any therapy. I was never seen by a counselor because we tried to hide it. We came from a respectable, well-known family back home. So it was shameful what their daughter had done. So it was not acceptable at all. So rather than, you know, address the problem, the issue that was going on in my head, why did I feel the need to do that?
Yeah.
They went on to try and, you know, oh, nothing happened. Let's hide
Okay,
it.
let's just shove it away. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just hide it all up and let's just make it look as if everything's normal, da 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 da. And we just moved on. And after that, I did my master's and I excelled in that. And I did my bachelor's in education and I did really well in that. So I just carried on as if nothing had happened. And then the second time it came back to me was when my marriage was breaking down. And the biggest blow was that I felt that I've gone back 15 years. So I've not achieved anything from being 21 to being 36. I'm back to square one because I don't want to live anymore. The pain is unbearable again.
Right.
But you know, I this time, the second time, I believe I could not make the attempt because my kids were around me, and I could.
Can I just talk to you a little bit about the when you were 21 and you said that you were saved.
Mm-hmm.
What happened there? Because I know I do get some listeners that are younger, and I know at
Mm-hmm.
the moment with what's going on, there's a lot of
Yeah,
harming, there's a lot of
yeah,
self-harm. I mean, some people are doing things for you know, they don't actually really want to die, but it's a cry for help. They
yes,
want, you
definitely.
know, but then there's also there's some real issues going on as well. So I mean, you went on to do your master's
Yeah.
and you went on. So are you able to share a little bit about how you were able to get sort of past that?
I think I was just very stubborn, to be honest. I think
Okay.
I have my grandmother's genes in me, and you know, and my dad's genes, and they were proper stubborn people, both of them were. And I think I've had that spirit of my unbreakable spirit of my grandmother's, who was widowed at 32 and brought up her 7 children on her own in those times. And she was not a literate person. And the honorable life that she lived, and people admired her for her strength of character as well. And she was such a strong-minded lady. She held the whole family together. But I think with me, the thing is, when I did not want to die, I don't think anyone wants to die. I don't think anyone wants to go there. It's when you think the pain becomes so big, so huge that you can't contain it anymore.
Yeah.
That is when you think, what's the way out?
There's nowhere else for it to go. It's just absorbing you. It's just in there. That's what I sense when I speak to some people in that
Exactly.
pain, you know. It's like, yeah, helpless almost.
And with me, the thing was, I did ask, people around me. They didn't understand it, and I came across as a stubborn girl in those days because I had my own mind, and I wanted to be treated the same as, my brother, which they did not like. And I had loads of questions. I used to ask loads of questions to my parents, and they meant well, Donna. They were not nasty people. They were lovely people, educated people, and they meant well. And my dad worked really hard to provide for us, and he was a self-made millionaire. But what went wrong was that I had questions and they could not address them. And therefore, I started believing that they didn't care and they didn't want me, which I had some evidence for as well. And I logged that down, all of that down in my book, Rich Man's Poor Daughter. That's why Rich Man's Poor Daughter, because the guy's daughter that I am, he was rich, he was a millionaire, a multimillionaire, and I felt really, really poor, not because I didn't have stuff around me, but because I didn't have love around me.
Yeah.
So I believed I didn't have anything around me because nobody loved me, nobody cared. And I'd say if anybody feels, such devastation that they don't want to carry on, there is always something to hang on to.
I
If you
think
have
what you've said
anyone,
there is, sorry to interrupt, I think what you
it's
said there is
okay.
really powerful, because I think a lot of people as well would be looking at that and seeing that rich, you living in a rich house and having all, very much, a lot of people look at material stuff and see that and would think, well, why on earth aren't you
And my
happy?
mom would actually say it to me, when I used to cry and feel really, because you're young, you don't know how to channelize your anger. I was such a crying baby. I used to cry so much. And I used to just cry, sit there. And I was depressed, I believe. I just used to sit and cry. And my mom would say, what's wrong with you? We provide you with everything, and you've got this, you've got a huge room, you've got everything you could ask for. What's your problem? But they could not understand that the problem was not on the outside. The problem was somewhere on the
On
inside
the
that
inside.
needed to be dealt with. But I suppose that's shaped me to be.
I think so. And I think
I totally
sometimes
believe
things
that.
are supposed to be
Yeah.
so you can really experience what that's like. Because that book, I haven't read it yet, but I imagine that's going to really help a lot of people, just from what you've told me,
Hmm.
just because you've been on that journey and you were poor inside, but yet had everything on the outside,
Exactly.
but actually what you've done because of this journey is become rich. You're on a journey of richness on the inside. So you
Amen
have to
to that.
question,
Yes,
well, if you'd have
definitely.
had that,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be here helping others right now.
Exactly. What that's done to me, Donna, is I have become totally non-judgmental, totally neutral to anything, everything.
I love that.
If somebody's angry at me, and I try and see what have I done to cause that to them, or maybe they're seeing it from a different angle to what I meant to be like with them. Or if somebody's judging me, as I say to anyone, if someone judges you, just let it be. You're not answerable to them, you're answerable to your conscience, you're answerable to God, and that's that. As long as you can see yourself in the eye, in the mirror, in your reflection, and you can, whenever your soul meets the divine, you can tell them, I did everything to the best of my abilities, and I meant well when I did something. Even if it goes wrong, God forbid, even if it does not happen the way you wanted it to be or others want it to be, your intention is what matters. And when you've done it from a place of love, it does not matter what the outcome is, it does not matter how far you went, you meant well.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's done to me. Totally neutralized now.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. And so now, your journey, I mean, what does your life look like now? I mean, obviously you've come a long way since in 7 years. I've seen you speaking. I know you're active on YouTube, and you're really driving this message of love, and you're reaching a lot of women. And it's no surprise that you're making a difference, because you can just hear it just listening to you and talking your experiences. So obviously your children now, I'm assuming they're obviously they're a lot older, so what, 11, 12?
16 and 12.
16 and
Bless them,
12.
yeah. 16 and 12, yeah.
How I mean, your 4-year-old, I'll just sort of step back a little bit. Your 4-year-old, you mentioned, saw you be physically abused.
Yeah.
Does she remember that?
She
Do you
does,
ever
yeah.
talk about that?
Oh
Yeah.
yes, oh yes.
Right.
I
Okay.
mean, because I've been a teacher almost all my working life, adult life, before I, jumped into this personal development and empowerment stuff 3 years ago. I've been a teacher, Donna. So I suppose child psychology has been my, strong forte. And also because of the experiences I had when I was a child, I kind of had quite good understanding, strong understanding of how children's brains work. So I decided to be very honest and very transparent with my children. And I'd say that to any mother, any father listening out to me here, if you want your children to develop a clear understanding of life, try and be as honest, given their age, possibly, and your vocabulary and how you relay your truth. Be as honest possibly you can be. And that's what I did. I did not hide anything of them. I tried telling them, okay, this has happened, and she was too little to understand anything. But as little as she was too. She has a huge understanding for her age even now. She's quite mature, and suppose that's the circumstances they've been through. We've kind of grown together, all three of
Yeah.
us. So they, both of them, bless them, they're very mature girls for their age and very kind, very sensible. So she does talk about. We do talk about it, and I'll just say, you know what, it's okay. Let's just forgive, and it's okay. He didn't understand any better at the time, so I'm hoping he does now, and may God bless him for whatever it is. Because to be honest, Donna, he has contributed the most in my journey, so I'm thankful for him as well. I'm
It's
extremely
the
thankful for
irony,
him.
isn't it? The irony.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think that yeah, it really is. When I look back at my experiences,
yeah,
I wouldn't. I say this. I've said this a few times. I wouldn't want to go back and
mm,
experience it again.
mm,
But at the same time, I wouldn't want you to erase that completely, because I know that the person, the situation has helped me and helped me to become who I am today. And
exactly.
those experiences, I believe now, were almost a gift. I think life is a gift of a full
Definitely,
experience, and there's also
definitely.
there's experiences within the experience that we can then use to help others find their gifts in their experience,
Exactly.
so I understand what you're saying there.
Yeah, and from what you've experienced, not many of us experience that, unfortunately. But all the outcomes don't have to be same. It's not, divorce is not always the answer. Separation is not always the answer, and not two people are exactly the same, anyways. So if somebody's experiencing something similar to what I have narrated or what I've written in my book, it does not mean that it exactly have to go in, this way. It has to go this way. It has to go in this direction. It's very individual, and that's what I'd say to any woman or any man who's experiencing anything that's not very nice in their marriages. That marriage is a beautiful thing. I still believe in marriage. I still believe it's a great union when two people come together and they know themselves. And it's not that the person is supposed to make you complete. You are a complete individual. And Donna, because you've experienced this, you'd relate to this. You're a complete human being. You're a complete individual. You know yourself, and it's because you know yourself you can actually make a great union with another person and a team,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And they need to know themselves, and then you come together and create something beautiful called marriage, a home. But if you're looking for somebody to suffice you, then that is where the problem is. That's a whole other topic we
well,
can,
you've just reminded me of something that I haven't said this for a long time, but it was when I first really started awakening to consciousness. I think I'm really awakening about 20. I was in my early 20s, so this is going way back. This was something where it's, and I think I'm going to get this right, so it's almost like we're all seas, We're all C's, and we're all trying to be Z. We're all trying to be O's, and
Okay.
that is because we're trying to find ourselves and become complete.
Whole, yeah.
But there's lots of us, so there's lots of us that are around like C's, and what we've got to be careful of is attaching to another C to create our wholeness before we've created it ourselves. And if two O's can then come together and two wholenesses can come together, then that's what we want. But actually a lot of people are searching so much outside, and they'll meet someone else doing the same, and that's the O. But then is that really the whole? I mean, some relationships you can help. I believe my relationship that I've been with him now for 27 years.
Amazing.
We weren't I wasn't an O when I met him. He wasn't an O. But we've helped each other.
Of course, you grow together.
To grow together, which is a beautiful. But I'd experienced some domestic violence and some horrific issues with relationships before then, which I'm actually really grateful for, because I vowed I'm not going through that again. Whereas if I
Isn't it amazing? We're thankful for the nasties that happened to us. Isn't it amazing? It's so lovely.
Yeah.
You know, it's wonderful. You start to understand that it's that made you, as you said earlier, who you are today. And it's amazing. It's I think that's the whole circle done now.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. All we have to do is make it more fulfilled now.
Yeah. And hopefully that's a really strong message in this interview. That, you know, these situations can make us stronger. It can make us who we actually are here to be.
Exactly.
So that really don't give up on yourself.
Never give up.
These are gifts for you to make you stronger. Absolutely make you stronger.
Definitely.
And that's what a beautiful message to drive through with this love message.
It is, isn't it? It's lovely. It's brilliant. It's brilliant what you've spoken about.
Yeah. And it's healing as well, isn't it? When I don't know about you, but every interview that I do, I think it'll always happen. I'll always dig a little bit around my own truth. And because we're now coming from a different perspective, we can look at things now with more understanding. You know, we don't have to go back into the past and feel all that pain that we felt then. We're now who we are, and we can look at it from where we are and as an observer and untangle the truth in that. And that in itself, and what we're doing here, and hopefully people are listening, able to do that themselves. It's like a shedding of the past and helping you to move forward.
Exactly. And for healing, Donna, I'd say healing happens, of course, when you stop judging yourself. I mean, let people do that business if they have to, if they want to. You are not supposed to judge yourself. You accept yourself, embrace yourself, you know, love yourself for whoever you are, the fat, the big, the ugly, the beautiful, you know, curly hair, straight hair, messy hair, whatever it is, you know, great complexion like Donna's, a bit rubbish like mine, everything's fine.
Hey.
Everything's great, everything's lovely. You know, embrace yourself for who you are and tell your story. What Donna does is speak your truth out. That's so important, Donna. When we do that, healing comes, God knows from where, but it does happen. When we accept it, we can only talk about it without being hurt if you've accepted it. And when you start talking about, even if there is some emotion in it, there's no right or wrong time about that. Whenever you're ready, you're ready.
Yeah.
You talk about that. And the third thing I'd say is give back, share the love, help, whatever you can, the little you can do, whatever you can do.
Yeah.
Don't refrain yourself from doing that, because that is what's going to bring even more healing, even more blessings. And you don't even know how that works. I don't know how that works, but I know it works.
Yeah.
And I don't need to know how it works.
Yeah. Don't question it. Just believe. Just believe. Yeah. No, I love that. And you was touching on, because I think a lot of people do beat themselves up a lot, and they're judging themselves a lot. And and you know, like if you make a mistake, and even I do this sometimes, if you make a mistake or you say something and then you're like, I wish I didn't say that, I wish I hadn't done that, and we can really beat ourselves up.
Yeah.
And actually that beating up and that dilemma that's going on is all in our own heads, and we are the ones that then punish ourselves. So I think it's a really good point about judging, because we've become very good, I think, as a human race at punishing ourselves. And that is that's the opposite to love, isn't it? Really,
Exactly.
we're not loving ourselves, then we are unloving ourselves. We're like,
Exactly.
yeah.
And
And I
I'd
think
say
we can
treat
do that.
yourself as if you would treat a child. Treat your inner self as you would treat a little child. So if a child says something wrong or does something wrong, we don't tend to, lash out at them or beat them down or say some nasty verbal things. We don't do that. We try and say, it's okay, it happened this time. Try not to do it again. Or, you might have said this, but it's okay. It's happened. It doesn't matter. And we did not come with a manual. Donna. We did not, we've learned it all here. Whatever little we know, we've learned it here. So we can unlearn it and learn it again. That's the beauty of it. But we did not know what to do with ourselves. So I think whatever we've done, it was meant to be. And whatever we're going to do in future is also meant to be. So whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
It's the law of universal acceptance. That's what they call it, law of universal acceptance. When you accept that all is well, it's all taken care of. If I've said something wrong, that's because I was supposed to say it in that moment. You didn't mean to, but that's what you said. It's all okay.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. And I think once you can start being open and honest with yourself like that, then you can, and then I started a long time ago being open and honest about things that I've would beat myself up about, and just
Yeah,
put it out there, and it just
yeah,
releases it. Really, it releases it. You don't
it
have
does.
to be holding on to this burden, because, and I do say this to my son as well, who I know is afraid of, he's got to that age where he's afraid to put his hand up because he thinks he might be the only person that, and I'm trying to get him to just sort of open up with his real emotions and feelings at this age, because the chances are, I know it, half the kids want to put their hand up as
Yes,
well.
more than half probably.
More than half. And so I think it's really it's really important to start just being kind to ourselves, honest with ourselves, and it's okay. We didn't come with a
Absolutely,
manual. Ask
absolutely.
questions. I've started saying there's things I don't know. I was terrible at school, and I didn't go to university, and there's some words I even don't understand, and I'd used to hold that on and think, oh my God, I'm really silly, I can't do it. Now I'm just like, no, I don't know, tell me.
Nobody understands, nobody knows meaning to all words in the world, Dana. Let's all admit it, right? It doesn't matter how well educated you are, whether you went to university. No, no, none of us know everything.
No.
Right? Everybody has their own expertise, and you're good
Yeah.
at what you do, and anybody else is good at making words up or using them. That's fine.
That's it. And I love
Well,
learning. I love learning. I love going through the thesaurus. I hear someone say a word, I was like, oh, I don't understand that. So I get my thesaurus. Not only do I understand that word, but I can think of other
three
words that
more.
match it. So it's like, yes, that's the power of like not knowing to know more. I think we opened up
Yeah,
this interview with that, that
totally,
quote.
totally.
Oh, Rita, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Is there anything that you would like to say to the listeners or the people watching this to sort of seal it off? I think we've covered quite a lot of
We
things.
have, I believe, yes, we have.
Yeah.
All I want to say to anybody who's listening to this is an adult, a young person, a man, a woman, whoever that is, that your truth starts with yourself. And whatever you have experienced, whatever you've learned so far, there's a reason behind this. And you don't need to know the reason. I don't know the reason. Donna probably doesn't know the full reason behind what she's experienced. I still don't know. And we don't need to know. What is it that we can make use of that experience to make ourselves better to start off with and make ourselves happier? Your happiness is in your hands, and nobody has the right or the power to take it away from you. Know yourself, and that is where the actual truth reveals itself. That is where the actual power lies within yourself. I know it's easier said than done, Donna, and it took me a few years to, get here, but it's possible. And I display myself as an example, to be honest, and I'm not scared or worried or conscious of doing that. I display myself in anger as an example of being a total wreck to somebody who wants to do something now, not just for my own self, because yes, when I do the work I do, it helps others, but you know what, Donna, it's selfish. It helps me more than it helps anybody. I feel so fulfilled and rewarded, when somebody approaches me and say, "Oh, Ritu, I've experienced that, but I felt ashamed of it. I did not want to talk about it. Nobody knows about it." Isn't that telling me that, oh, we know you're not being judgmental to me? And, I know I can come and open up and I can tell you that this happened. And this is the power of human, communication,
Yeah.
communicating with love,
Yeah.
oozing out love, just letting people know you have that ability to love and be non-judgmental. And start with yourself. Just be non-judgmental to yourself.
Yeah.
Love yourself fully, embrace yourself fully, then see what miracles will happen.
Beautiful. I love that.
Thank you so much, Donna. I've had such amazing time talking to you on this session today. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
That's no problem. And I'm going to leave, what should I leave in there? You can mention it now if you want, or I can leave stuff in the notes about where people can, I'm sure there's going to be people listening that will want to connect with you. So I can leave some information in the notes. Or do you want to share anything here?
Sure, it's just my website, which is under construction, so it doesn't look great at the moment, but there is a website, ritu@ritusharma.co.
That's more than I've got. So sorry, what is it again? Ritu?
It's just ritusharma.co.uk, and the email is just ritu@ritusharma.co.uk.
Lovely.
And there's a Facebook page for now. It's not a group, it's just a page, Kaushalya UK, KAUSHALYA UK, and that is around the organization, the work I do. Please visit it, like it, see if you find value in it. If you're value in it, keep connected. And Donna's mentioned a couple of times the YouTube channels. I've got two, and I'm not doing too much on them now, but there is stuff if you'd like to visit and watch it.
Well, it's timeless, isn't it, Ritu? Those videos.
I believe, yeah. It's called 40 Steps to Love, Ritu Sharma. So please feel free to visit that as well and have a look. And thank you so much, Donna. Thank you so much for being so amazing and helping people, know their truth. And you're helping them. When people come out to speak about their experiences and what their journeys, I think then it is then that they realize their own personal truths as well.
Yes.
And it's amazing
that
job
is it, isn't it?
Thank
that
you so
is it
much.
I've had people, guests in, that have got in touch with me the next day, and they said, Donna, there was stuff I didn't even realize when I was talking to you that was there, and
Yeah.
and then I've had people that were listening or watching it on YouTube going, oh my gosh, you've really got me, like,
There you go.
working stuff out, and thank you. So yeah, that's what it's about. It's beautiful. We're gonna have to go because I've got a wasp. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm up in my loft in quite an enclosed place, and there's a wasp in here. I'm like,
Run.
Oh, Ritu, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. And
thank you so much, Donna.
yeah, I really can't wait for people. I think people are going to get a lot from this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. The book that Ritu mentions is available, and there's a link. Whether you're watching this or listening to it, I've made sure there's a link for you to go and get that book. If there are any areas within the interview that touched you, that you'd like to talk about further, or you'd like to explore further, then please do get in touch with me. I'm always looking for guests to talk to. And even if that's not what you're thinking, maybe someone I know or myself even can help you. So get in touch with me, searchingfortruth@gmail.com. So that's all for this week. I really hope you've got something from this, and I very much look forward to bringing you my next podcast. In the meantime, have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.